I no longer have food poisoning, and that is a very good thing in my opinion, because that was terrible. Now, I will say this. I'm no longer craving the Buc-ee's 3-meat sandwich. Maybe it's because I haven't passed any Buc-ee's signs in a while. But, I don't know. Maybe since I had the food poisoning, I have not been craving it. So let me fill you in on what's been going on. As of the time of this recording, it's, November 5th, I think it is. And, I've been on the road for another week since that previous update. No longer have food poisoning, and that's a good thing, as far as I'm concerned. And, so I drove back into Atlanta, did my drop off at the Schneider at the Paz location at 6 a.m. That location is awesome. They're always awesome. And then I went and parked it at the Atlanta OC, and I was in my car on the drive back home by about 7:30. And by then, that day my stomach was fine. I was a little nervous about it. Even though I hadn't been sick or anything like that in over a full day, even though I've been still feeling like the effects. You know how after you do a lot of heaving and stuff like that, your stomach hurts for a while? Well, my stomach, the lower bit hurt, the gut hurt for a while, but totally fine. So I went ahead and drove on home and took a nap, went and visited family, had lunch with my mom, went and visited my grandmother, spent time with my girls, because it was Halloween. I got home for Halloween, and that was really cool. So I said that that was home on Monday. I said, count on me being back on Wednesday. I was going to cut my home time down to 2 days because I worked on Monday. And then I said, pre-assign me on Thursday. The reason why is because my previous job paid a lot more money than this. So I just wanted to get back on the road, because if I didn't get an assignment until, let's say, Saturday, then I might not be able to finish it by Monday, in which case my paycheck would be pretty bad. Because the way that Schneider does it is, if you're assigned a job from Sunday until Saturday and you drop it off by Monday or early in the day on Tuesday, then they will go ahead and pay it that week, like 3 days later on that Thursday, Friday. So that is cool from a perspective of very quick paying out. Now, I do want to also mention real quick, sometimes I've sounded kind of negative in my tone towards Schneider. I have a lot of, very positive things to say about Schneider too. I'm very appreciative that they give a lot of new drivers a chance, for example. And the Pods account is a great account to start on. So the fact that they're only open from 6 until 3 and every location's a little bit different, that makes it a little bit of a challenge sometimes. But I think it's a lot better doing that kind of a job than if you were driving, and your last pickup was like 4, and then at like 6 or 7, you're trying to find a parking space. I'm able to pretty much go to a truck stop and almost always find a parking spot, which is good. So anyway, let me not get ahead of myself here. So I said, pre-assign me, get me going on Wednesday. And on a hope and a suspicion that I would get something, I went ahead and went on in to my truck and sat around there. Normally, if you don't get pre-assigned something the day before, the jobs will come in sometime during the 10 o'clock hour. So I was like, all right, well, I'm hoping to get something in the 10 o'clock hour. Didn't happen. So I was sitting around there and I said, you know what? Because it was approaching 11, I said, because it's 11, if the Schneider, the Pods location rather, is about 45 minutes away from the Schneider OC if you're parked inside of what is it called? Interim parking? No, it's called, not intermodal. It's, interim. You're traveling someplace. Transient. I'll get it eventually. So anyway, I was like, all right, well, I'm parked there. I went ahead and did a pre-trip. And that way, then I went straight back into off-duty. And then I was contacted around 11 something by one of the DTLs. And he was telling me, you have been chosen to take a random drug screening. Well, guess what? I'm boring. I don't smoke, drink, do drugs, never have, never will, don't even casually drink. So I'm boring. So sending me out for a drug screening is perfectly fine. I'm not worried about that one bit. And they were like, you can drop your trailer if you're at the OC and then drive over there. I'm like, my car is literally 2 rows behind me. So I jumped in my car and went to the place. It was like 15 minutes away. Took the drug screening, sent them the test. And then I was like, yeah, so I'm ready to go. And they were like, yep, you're good. So I went back to the truck and sat around there. And then at 2 o'clock, I knew that if I were to get a pre-assignment at that point, I knew driving over to the Schneider or to the pod's location and picking up was probably not going to happen, because by the time you get out, it's a 45-minute drive, and I would be catching them at the very, very end of the day. And after I looked over the job and stuff, so I went ahead and left. I went ahead and went back straight to I went ahead and just logged out for a 10-hour. I changed my pre-trip on the tablet. I changed it to pre and post-trip. And you know what? As far as I'm concerned, it was a TIV tire check and everything. It was me checking out the truck again before I jump back on the road. And that's, Schneider paid me $2.50 to $3 for that. I think they can afford that, even though I didn't go anywhere. So anyway, got to remind myself to do something here real quick. So later on that day, it was like 5:30, something like that, when I finally got my pre-assignment. And it amused me because I'm driving from Atlanta all the way to Compton, California. Driving across the country, which I like. Granted, when I'm out there in California, a little nervous about what they're going to assign me, because if they assign me to go up north, it's like tire change season. Oh no, I don't want to deal with that. But I went ahead and I said, okay, I did my ETA, said I'm going to be at the pods location to pick up my pods at, what was it? 6 a.m. And then I hit the road. I went straight out to Alabama, went to Birmingham, went through Memphis, made it all the way to Danielville, Arkansas. It's about 500 miles. And then I shut down. It was late in the day. Now, I was a little nervous about finding a parking spot around 4:30 or 5 p.m. But what I had done the day before, as soon as I got that assignment, is I went ahead and looked ahead at what parking looked like. Kind of planned out where I was going to go. And if I ran into no traffic, which truck stops I was going to stop at and which one's best case scenario. And that was the best case scenario. Ended up not running into any traffic. Now, I also found an app that I really like. It's called Trucker Path. If you're not familiar with it, get it. If for nothing else, get it for the parking. If there are Walmarts or something like that where you can park, it will tell you you can park here as long as you're shopping, or it'll say okay to park overnight. Another thing is that drivers can go to these parking lots and they can open up the thing and press a button on how many parking spaces are left. If it's reserve only, if it's a few, if it's some, or if it's many. And so what I did is I looked at that Danielville location, even though it was a totally different day. I said, you know what? It looks to me like I would be in pretty good shape if I went there. Now, granted, when I say I'm stopping there at like 5 p.m., that is stopping there Eastern time, and technically that would be Central. So anyway, I hit the road, got out there, shut it down, ended up having a great parking spot that was a straight shot straight out. That's one of the things I like about driving, about stopping early. I'm looking in the online forums, and they're saying if you stop because daylight saving time is just about to happen. Well, actually, as of the time of this recording, it just happened. So people say that when the days get shorter and the nights get longer, truckers are going to pull into truck stops earlier. They're going to get going earlier, and they're going to pull into truck stops earlier. So I might start running into some competition. So anyway, I got up the next day after Danielville, hit the road, drove about 640 some odd miles to what is it called? Tucumcari? New Mexico. There it is. Very East New Mexico. And I kept seeing this sign that said, the Big Texan, a 72-ounce steak, free, if you can finish eating it in an hour. Well, Lord knows I don't need that. Even though I love me some steak, and I would love it, I don't want to end up having to tackle that one because I don't think I could do it. I know I couldn't do it. In my teenage years, I might have been able to, because back in those days, I was in like much better shape. I was really skinny, had that teenage appetite, and I would look at a pizza and just fold the thing in half and just chow down on it like it was a quesadilla or something like that. It's crazy. Now I realize that to sustain yourself, you don't need nearly as much. Anyway, so I have a friend that lives in Albuquerque. I was going to try to meet up with him for breakfast, but I said I went back and forth with him. I said, if you happen to be up at 5:30, I'm going to be getting some. I'm going to be stopping for gas at this truck stop that's around the corner from your house. You know, if you want to meet up for breakfast, meet me there at 5:30, or at least send me a text message and let me know. And he's like, okay. Well, he sends me a text message at 6 after I'm already back on the road. Because I told him I wasn't going to call him and wake him up and text him and whatever. I said, if you happen to be up, because he's an early riser, I said, just let me know. And with the time change that happened that day, I was hoping that because it would be like, actually like 6:30 a.m. by the time he was there, and he normally gets up really early anyway, I was hoping that with the time change going back an hour, 5:30 wouldn't have been an issue. So I wasn't able to meet up with him for breakfast. Anyway, hit the road, drove out west, and I will tell you this. Starting to get some freeze warnings on the road, driving through the deserts of New Mexico and Arizona. Temperatures got down to 28 degrees as I was driving, and right now I'm looking at 85 here in Kingsman, Arizona. 25 or 85 degrees from 29. 27? Was it 20? I remember seeing 27. I think I saw it go down to 28, or maybe it was 27. I know I definitely saw 29 for a while. I'm going to call it 29. That way I'm keeping myself honest. I think I saw it lower, but it was early and I was concentrating on the road because when it's dark out, you definitely want to pay attention to the road. And man, watching the sun come up. Yesterday, going through New Mexico was a trip because there was about 2 to 3 hours where it was just overcast. And it was not just overcast, but it was foggy. Only had like 3 to 500 mile an hour visibility. So at this point, I turned off my listening apparatus and had the CB radio on, and I was listening to traffic. And driving quite a bit slower than I wish I could have gone. Luckily, there was a semi in front of me that was maintaining a decent speed, and he was way out there. I made sure that I kept his headlights barely visible. I have some glasses that are because it happened after the sun came up. So I have some glasses that as long as it's sunny out there, you can put them on, and it's better for seeing fog, and it really does work, I tell you. A little bit better. It's not as bright and just kind of diffused. It helps you see a little more high contrast, which I really appreciate. And so I kept it where I could see the box of his truck and see his lights on. And he did not have his hazards on the entire time, but he had them on, and I was able to keep him up ahead. And if I saw him put the brakes on, I put my brakes on. Because I would know that, being that he was about a football and a half field out in front of me, I knew that at the speed I was going, it was a good, safe stopping distance. And just went cruising along through it. So anyway, I'm here in Kingsman, and I'm going to share something else with you. I mentioned the Trucker Path app. I find that since I have a free account, and hopefully it's not just a trial, hopefully it maintains free, because I really like the fact that you can go into it and select parking and see how it's filling up over the last few hours. Now, I also like the fact that you can click the button and participate. And so, I feel that since I have a free account, the very least I can do is give it a status update based on where I am. Like right now, there's quite a bit of parking at this location. So I will do my part, and I will go into the app and I'll say, many spaces at this lot. Even though it's 5 p.m. right now, surprisingly, there's a lot of people, a lot of here. Now, this is a TA. Also in Kingsman, Arizona, there is a Flying J. Almost all of their parking spaces were reserved. And if they weren't, they were occupied, even some by drop trailers, which I really did not like. Anyway, what am I going to do? I found myself a free parking lot, and I appreciate that. Now, it is Sunday. That means on Thursday, I drove 500 miles to Arkansas. Then I drove about 600 and I think it was 43 miles, no traffic, and I shut down. So I got about 1,100 miles there. Today, I drove about another 640 miles. I'm doing pretty well. Now, according to my GPS, I only have 320 miles to get to Compton. They said they don't start offloading semis until 7 a.m. So here's my game plan. I am going to drive, get up really early, like around midnight or something like that. I know that it jumps back because I'm at the very western part of Arizona. I know that as soon as I get in the truck and start heading out, about 45 minutes down the road, two things are going to happen. Number one is I enter California and my speed limit is 75 miles an hour, which I can only go 65 because of the governed truck, is going to turn into 55. And I'm going to keep it around 58 because I always, if the speed limit is below 65, I will usually go about 3 miles an hour over. And cars and trucks always fly past me on the left-hand lane. So it doesn't matter if I'm going 65, they're flying past me on the left-hand side. If I'm going 58, they're flying past me on the left-hand side. So my plan is to get off on my exit, which I did look at on Google Maps and come to find out that the road that my exit is, there's two different turns, and it loops you around, and then it loops you around off of an elevated interstate. It loops you around, and then you take a right and go down underneath the road. But the second one is the one I would need to take, and that one actually has road closures. So you can't do that. You have to take the first one. So what I'm going to have to do is loop it around, then make a left turn, go down to the first street, turn left, next street, turn left, and then it puts me on that road. Provided there's nothing crazy there. So I'm going to arrive in Compton, which I know is not the best of areas where I'm going. And if I'm giving myself about 5 hours to get to Compton. If I'm going 60 miles an hour, average, let's say, actually, you know what? I should give myself 6.5 hours. 5.5 hours. Because it's about 320 miles from here. So 60 miles an hour times 5 is 300 miles. So 5.5 hours should get me there. And I'm assuming that I'm going to run into some of that famous LA traffic that I absolutely hate. But considering that my window is at 7 a.m., I'm hoping that if I get delayed a little bit, which I probably will, a little bit, especially when I get into LA, going to Compton, near Long Beach or Muscle Beach, or getting out there, Torrance. I'm assuming I'm going to run into some traffic. And if that's the case, I'm going to get out there and about half of my hours are going to be gone. Now, here's one thing if you are a Schneider driver. Maybe this works with other companies too, but I will tell you this. With Schneider, this is a winner. I really appreciate this about Schneider. If you go into Compass, after you log in the upper left-hand corner, there's tools. Go down to the bottom selection, which is drop lots. You can put in the city that you're in and the radius around the city. If I put in Compton, there are 2 drop lots within 25 miles of there. One of them is an intermodal only, and one of them is not. Now, I did call and spoke to driver services, and I asked if I were to stop at the because I asked them about the one lot because I looked at it on Google Maps, and it looks to me like it's a little bit like I could need a code to get in because it doesn't look like it's manned and operated. And also, it doesn't look like there's anything there. It looks like there's a lot, but is that an actual Schneider parking lot, or is that a lot that I go to and find out that it's empty, or find out that I can't get in? So I started asking, and she said, well, there's another lot that's closer to Compton. You can go there. And I said, well, it says it's intermodal only. And she said, well, it is, but if you're a Schneider company driver just trying to do a 10-hour, you can do that there. I said, really? Can you double check that? And she calls the security, because it's a secure lot. She calls security, and they said, yeah, it shouldn't be a problem letting you in just to reset. There should be enough parking for you to do that. These bugs, I tell you, whatever that bug is, he just comes up and stares at me right here in the face. Where did you come from? He's literally right there. So that is like the kind of bug I was talking about the other day. Man, crunch. I'm sorry, but geez. I did not get the pepper spray that I was, pepper spray. Spray the truck out with pepper spray. I'm going to get some peppermint essential oil because we happen to have some at the house. I'm going to put some into a water bottle with water in it. And then I'm going to, when I come back to the truck, I'm going to spray it all over the place. Bugs hate essential peppermint oil. So hopefully that will get rid of some of these bugs. Jeez, they're just so annoying how they just come out of the woodwork. Now, it might be because it's 85 degrees right here in Arizona, and they're going to, retreat back in. I don't even know where that thing came from. Inside the truck someplace. As soon as it gets warm, these bugs just come out of nowhere. All right. So what I was going to say is if you go in and look for drop lots, there may be a drop lot in your city. Near Orlando, the main hub that I go to, the two different locations are 11 miles apart that I go to pods-wise. In Orlando, there's a drop lot about 6 miles from the big one that I go to most often. That to me is very convenient. That's one of the big advantages to having a company like Schneider, because I can drive. Remember, it's within 25 miles of where I'm located. So if it's mid to late morning, and I might ask the pod's location, do you mind if I hang out a little bit? If they say okay, or they may say pull over there or something like that, because I don't know how busy they're going to be. If I don't get a pre-assignment, I might just stay there for a couple of hours. Once it gets too late, keeping in mind that I'm going to be leaving at, maybe about 12:30. No. I will be leaving here at 1:30 my time, because it drops back to 12:30 with the time change. And that's 5.5 hours to get to 6 a.m. And that's just to get to the mileage. I said there's no delays. So I put my ETA in as 7 a.m. I think I can get there. And should be, if I arrive a little bit early, so be it. I'll just break all the straps and then hang out, jump off the clock if I need to. Really hoping for a pre-assignment. And if I don't get it, I might hang out there in Compton for a little bit. But if it gets to be mid to late morning, because I'm going to be dropping the pods off, I need to get out of there. At that point, I'm going to go to that drop lot. Now, granted, it's not going to have a facility for me to shower, or probably bathroom, something like that. I'll manage. But that will mean that I don't have to go, because I was looking around, and all the Flying J's and Pilots and all the truck stops in and around Los Angeles, they charge for parking, usually between 20 and 30. Now, there are two lots, one's a TA, one's a Petro, that have hundreds of spaces, but they charge $30 if you're there longer than 2 hours. I don't want to do that. So what I started doing is looking for a drop lot, because I really don't want to drive out of the city and drive like an hour to like Thousand Palms where I went before, and got lucky then, and they only have like 40 parking spaces that aren't reserved, and I luckily was able to get one. That was really nice to me. I was not expecting that. If you're working for a big company like Schneider, though, take advantage of those drop lots. They are extremely helpful. You could park in one overnight. That way you have the ability to not fight for traffic and hang out in a secure, safe location that has company security on it. It's really nice. Now, granted, it's the company security that's remote, but they have cameras up and stuff, so that's nice. So I should, because that was Thursday when I left Atlanta, got about 500 miles, then about 650, then about 650 the next day. So that's between those 2 days. That's about 1,300. Add to that it's like 1,850 with the 500. Yeah, roughly. That means to go the last of the 2,150 miles or whatever it is to get to Compton, I have about 320 miles. To me, that's not bad for driving Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then dropping off on Monday. 5 days to drive across the country, and I'm still compliant and everything. I'm happy. Happy with that. Very good. So that's that. If the look of this video entry looks a little different, it's because I mentioned in the last video or one of the previous ones that I'm going to be getting a DJI Action 4. Well, it arrived and I picked it up. I mean, it arrived arrived like a week or so before my home time, but I was able to pick it up when I got to home time. Got the polarizing lens too, so I'm able to dial out any reflections from glass and stuff like that. It's really nice. The lighting just changed. That's good. The sun finally went behind that hill right there. So it is about time for me to hit the hay. So yeah, I'm going to call it there. Thanks for watching.